This is Gwen Talks Radio, where intimate conversations reveal, heal, inspire, and entertain. And now, here's your host, Tess Cacciatore.
Okay, here we go. You're listening to Gwen Talks Radio, and I'm your host, Tess Cacciatore. I am really excited about today's show, and I want to talk a little bit about the theme song. In our theme song for the radio show, we have talk about everything. So far, over the last few episodes, we've talked about cancer survivors, sex trafficking survivors, nuclear war activists, celebrities, and all sorts of human rights activities. One of the things that I always say to my friends is that I'm kind of like a humanitarian ADD because I have so much passion for so many elements in the world, and one of them is animals. I've had the pleasure and the blessing to be able to go on safaris in Africa. I've been able to interact with elephants from many countries, which is one of my passions. We have a most amazing show today lined up for you that has a lot to do about animal rights and animal activism. Whether you are part of the Humane Society, you adopt a dog or a cat and give a beautiful home to an animal that needs to be rescued, whatever you do in the animal world, it's really important to take care of our animals. That's why I named this episode From the Wild to the Heart. How do we take the animals in the wild, whether there are rescued animals in our own communities, to the safaris where there's poaching and horrific things going on right now? And how do we take that into our heart? How do we find compassion to be able to shift the laws that are going on, the things that are going on in the current administration, where bans are being lifted, where poaching is happening for unimaginable reasons that just, I believe, through education and consideration of cultures, that we might be able to enlighten and empower and educate people to be able to shift these laws and to bring about a bigger vision of how we treat our animals. We just came out of Thanksgiving weekend, and one of the things that bothered me to no end was this thing called a turkey bowl. And literally people had frozen turkeys, and they were rolling them down the aisles like a bowling ball to hit as many pins as they possibly could. Now, I used to be a vegetarian. I can't say I am now, but I'm very conscious of my vegetarian and vegan friends. I'm very conscious of what I put in my body. And I'm also very conscious of the lives that are given for us to be able to have sustainable food in our bodies. I was so heartbroken to see these beautiful turkeys that had given their lives to be on the table during Thanksgiving, and they were being so disrespected. And I wondered, what's going to happen to these turkeys at the end of this turkey bowl? Why are these people doing this? And what's going to happen to people that are homeless that need that food to eat? So don't even get me started on the homeless side and the feeding the people, because right now we're going to focus on the people that we have today on the guest of the show. I'm really excited to bring David Longoria to the show. You've been hearing his song in commercial form of Playground, which is featuring Dallas Lovato. We've been playing that every episode because I love that song. It gets me wanting to get up and dance. Well, we have another song we're going to premiere on this show today from a film that was done by a South African filmmaker by the name of Tiruku Bogali. And I'm really thrilled to have him on the show today. He's going to talk about his movie that is all about the poaching of rhinos. It's a story that's called Bloodline, Now or Never. So we're going to talk to David Longoria about his participation in that film. And then I'm so excited. My last guest of the day is Christopher Law, who I've known for quite a few years. And I've always wanted to go on safari with him because he's been on safari for the last 30 years. So we get the perspective of someone who has taken people into the wild on these safaris for the last 30 years and how he's brought respect and love to these animals and creatures that we need to adore and cherish and respect and save. So I'm really excited about getting started. We need to take a break for a couple commercials, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm David Longoria with my new song, Playground, featuring Dallas Lovato with me. Time to dance. Playground is available now on all digital music stores and streaming. David Longoria featuring Dallas Lovato. Playground.
There are self-help seminars costing thousands of dollars guaranteeing miraculous transformations. There are compelling speakers and life-changing weekend experiences where you can walk on fire. They all deliver revelations that guarantee you'll come back for the more expensive revelations filled with even greater wonder next month on Fiji. We get addicted to positive, heartfelt, expensive theater. What we really need is a jumpstart, an awakening. Someone who can give us a reminder that everything we need lies within. Through inspiration and practical knowledge, Dorothy Donahue helps people get grounded and motivated, inspired and energized. It's not just words and affirmations and the power of intention. It's a mindset brought about by a tangible, transcendental experience, an audio-visual, physical, spiritual experience that helps us realize we transform ourselves. We get tools to become the conscious co-creators of lives of unlimited potential. Find out more. Go to DorothyDonahue.com.
Okay, we are right back here with Gwen Talks Radio. This is your host, Tess Cacciatore, and we are on the wild and dangerous side. We're entering into the world of David Longoria. And if you don't know his work, you might be under a rock because he's everywhere. He's a producer. He's an artist. He's an amazing trumpet player, amazing humanitarian. I've had the honor of being able to work side by side with him on his project of We Are One. He's been part of Gwen as a COO. I could talk forever, so I might as well just bring him on. Hello, David.
Hello. I can't live up to that introduction.
Oh, you live it up and beyond. So I'm so excited that, after all these episodes, you're number 8. 8 is oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. This is episode 8, and it's my favorite number and one of my favorite people to be on the show today.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yay. So we have so much to talk about. I just want to take us back a little bit to a moment when we were in Washington, D.C. on May 20th, I believe, on the lawn of the White House.
We were.
Singing your song, We Are One. So I want your listeners to hear a little bit about that song because they've been hearing little snippets of it the whole time, all along in all the commercial breaks.
Well, yeah, you know what? I just completed an album this year called The Journey, and the idea was that I took instrumental music to new places, and I wanted an album that talked about what happens in everyone's life, some milestones, things that we all relate to, and there were songs about childhood, about a coming of age, and then there's a point in your life where you want to start talking about what can we do for other people instead of just for ourselves and to glorify what we are individually. So I said, well, why don't I do something that celebrates the 30th anniversary of Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie's song, We Are the World. So I said, well, the biggest problem that we could address right now is how we're so divided people. We were divided by our colors, our height, our weight, our ideology, our politics, our religion, all those things. And I said, well, why don't we stop being so divided and try and bring people together? So I said, well, why don't I write a song called We Are One that just really unifies people and says, I don't care if you look different from me, you think different from me, we're put here on this planet. We need to lift each other up and support each other. So I wrote this song, and it's kind of a simple idea, but I started inviting people to come sing with me. And literally 2.5 years later, I've got 700 artists. Crazy, isn't it? But 700 artists all sang together on one song. So
I know, and I got to be one of those.
You were the most important one, actually.
Oh, yeah, I was 703. So there you go.
Is that? Yeah, I guess I gave everybody their number. Number 107 said to number 33 one day. No. So
that could be a movie in itself.
It should be. But so the song has kind of been building all this momentum, and they're talking about it on radio stations all over the world, on TV stations, and in order to really make some noise about it, I thought we should go to the top residents in the country, and we did that in just before the summer started at the White House, the lawn of the White House. as you know, we brought people from all over the country, came out and they sang with us. And we made a big splash out there. We did a private reception with the Senate. We did all kinds of really cool things. But it's mainly not so much about how many people are on it and where we did it, as much as it is the simple message that we need to bring people together and lift each other up instead of tearing each other down all the time.
Amen, brother. Oh my gosh, with all the things that are going on in the world, I know we talk often about what's happening in the world, and to stay as neutral and central and heart open as possible. And it's kind of crazy out there. So I think the more that we get to batten down the hatches and stay in that space of neutrality and openness and love, the better we'll be. And the songs like "We Are One," hello, that sends a really beautiful message to the world.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I kind of laughed because it was such a simple message, but the message stands out because no matter where you are on any of these particular issues, we can all come together just by saying, look, let's hold hands. I don't care if your ideology is the opposite of mine. I can see where you're coming from. I can respect you. I can love you as a person without agreeing with all your politics or the way that you see God or the way that you eat your potatoes or whatever it is.
Speaking of the "We Are One," we are in the same universe with these beautiful species. Oh my gosh, I've gone to several different safaris, as I mentioned in the introduction. I've gone to Kruger National Park with one of the grandsons of the people that are the Kruger family, and I was in awe of the rhinos and the elephants and the lions, the gazelles, and all the beautiful bounty. And this was back in 2000. And to read the statistics of where the rhinos have come from, and that they're near extinct in some of the species, and the fact that their horns are being sold for $1,700 an ounce. It just breaks my heart. So we're going to talk further, obviously, with Tariku Bagali about the film, but what brought you to the film? What was the inspiration to write that amazing song, by the way? I can't wait to expose that today because it's going to be our music spotlight at the end of the show. So listeners, get ready for this amazing song. What was your connection to Tariku, and what was your feeling about being a part of this amazing film?
Well, as you know, I've written a lot of music for different movies over the years. I know.
Shout out! You won an award last week. Sorry to interrupt you. Just wanted to do a little bragging for you. You won an award for best soundtrack at the Hollywood Music and Media Awards. I hear.
I did, and it was kind of a shock. We were up against some really, really big movies, but I was just honored to win it as the best score, and it was quite a score for me. I was happy to take a trophy home.
Pun intended, and congratulations. So go ahead. Tell me about this film.
Well, along the way on We Are One, one of the people that I brought in that's very connected in Hollywood is Dick Michaels, who used to be a pop star in the 1950s, but he knows everybody. He reintroduced me to Stevie Wonder. He brought in a lot of different people, the Fifth Dimension, the Pointer Sisters, like all these great classic people over the decades. And he was talking to me one day, and he said, "Listen, I met this young man who is a filmmaker in South Africa, and he has really lived the life. He went out and he made a movie that breaks a whole lot of political barriers, and it's calling attention to the poaching of the rhinos." And I said, "Well, wait a minute, that's really of interest to me because these beautiful animals are getting hunted down, and they're using chainsaws to pull their horns off of them, and usually it kills this animal, and all to just make a little bit of money off of it." And I said, "Well, I'm in. I want to see this movie. Let me see what it's all about." And he said, "Well, there's Tariku, the filmmaker, is coming to town, and I want you to meet him while he's here, and we'll expose him to We Are One, and we'll see where it goes." And I said, "Well," he said, "Well, do you want to do anything with this movie? Maybe you could help us." I said, "Well, I love the cause, but, there are so many people making so many movies. There's just not, there's not enough time in the day to do everything." But he said, "Well, there's a screening." I met the filmmaker. The filmmaker came to my studio, and Tariku was very, very nice man, very pleasant man. You could tell that he kind of has this presence about him, that he has kind of this movie star look about him. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. It's a shame you're not in the movie, you know, because I know you're the writer and stuff. And he says, no, I'm the lead man in the movie.
I love that. It's the South African Clint Eastwood.
That's it. But so we set up. I just really enjoyed meeting him, and we became friends. And I wanted to see the movie, so I said, well, I don't have high expectations. This is a man who made a movie himself out in South Africa. So, you know, I don't have high expectations. You know, the first time somebody does anything, and maybe it's not that good, whatever. And the screening, I was just so compelled by it that he did a great job in the movie. The movie is very compelling. I was not bored at 1 minute of the movie. And I thought, you know what, this really needs the theme song that tells the story, that reminds people this is a real relevant cause right now. The people are in 2017, 2018, people are poaching these beautiful animals, and there's so much politics behind it that these people are getting away with it.
Oh, well, I was heartbroken and shaken and inspired when I watched the trailer. I've heard your song many times, which tells such a beautiful story. So we're going to talk about that with the filmmaker here in this next segment. But the statistics that we were talking about and what I've been researching, because when I went to Africa on the safari, there was so many rhinos and so many elephants, and I was just in heaven. And to read that the statistics have gone down, some of the most recent studies estimates there's roughly only 20,000 southern white rhino and 4,800 black rhino in Africa. And that's even, they think it's even much fewer in 2017. To hear that there's only 7,000 to 8,000 rhino as of 2016, the northern white rhino subspecies is reduced to living. There's only 3 rhinos living in East Africa. Only 3. This has to stop. We need to find ways. I mean, I'm all about respecting everyone's cultures. And I know they have this whole thing about this medical thing in India and China. But it's proven that this rhino horn does not really help them. There's many other things on the planet that could help cure whatever medical condition that they are having so that the rhinos can live and start to create again. So I'm really excited to bring on our next guest. We're going to take a quick break, and David's going to join us along the way as my guest host today, and he'll be along with the conversation because I'm really excited to bring on our next guest. And we'll be right back.
Check out the theme song from the feature film Bloodline, Now or Never, by David Longoria featuring April Diamond. The title song, Now or Never, is available on iTunes, Amazon, and other major music streaming outlets. By buying Now or Never, you will be supporting the campaign to help end the poaching of rhinos in Africa.
Here we are. We're back at Gwen Talks Radio. This is your host, Tess Cacciatore, and my beautiful handsome and special guest host, David Longoria. We've been talking about this film, and now we're ready to bring on Shiriku Bogali, who was born in Ethiopia, but now lives in South Africa. And there is this wonderful film that I can't wait to see called Bloodline, Now or Never. And he is kind of created this character, this eco-action hero. I loved reading that. Eco-action hero called Gabriel, who's kind of a rhino Rambo who takes on the gangs of poachers after they murder his girlfriend at the rhino sanctuary. So this film features him. He's the writer, he's the producer, and I think even the director and the star of the film. So that's why I was referring to Clint Eastwood, because that's what Clint does in America. So I'm so excited. Why don't you come on to the show and welcome?
Thank you, Tess, for having me.
I love hearing your accent. It makes me feel sad that I want to be back in Africa right now.
Yeah, thank you.
We have David here, so we're going to all talk amongst ourselves. But one of the first questions I have is that I've seen the trailer, absolutely stunning and shuddering and sad and scary and oh my gosh, on the edge of my seat. And then I hear David's song, which is like this powerful James Bond epic kind of anthem song that tells such a beautiful story. of the film. I can't wait to see it. I'm scheduled to go to the screening here in Los Angeles next Monday night. So what did you feel like when you heard the song and how it related to your film?
I was quite very, fascinated and impressed with the song when I heard, and I said, I just love it. I was in his office when I visited the studio, but I saw his love and passion to help others. And when he came up with this song, I was it's quite bondish, and it's a special song. I mean, this is my first feature film which I did, so it's my first time experience, and I'm quite privileged to have also my own theme song. And I'm very grateful to David's work.
Thank you.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
As I look at this, I said the qualities that this movie has, and that Tariqo, I don't want to make you blush. I think you really you brought it all to the movie. When I watched the movie in the first screening, when I first saw it, I was actually kind of shocked in the first 5 minutes. I could tell that you presence that. Why don't I see you in other movies? You know, and when we talk about like the James Bond character, you really, because of the way, I don't want to give away the whole movie, but I think that because of the things that happened to Gabriel in this movie, this is all about a normal guy taking on extraordinary circumstances, and he really rises to the occasion. So it reminded me kind of the James Bond, but also Sylvester Stallone, how, in Rambo or even in Rocky, how his character, rises to the occasion and does extraordinary things.
So how did you come up with the film? What was your passion behind it?
It was not easy just, to understand all the nuts and bolts of how the film industry works. So he been supportive and, giving me kind of like moral support. And when he sent me this song, I didn't expect it was going to come. It took him quite a while just to compose and to provide me the best song, which he did.
Well, that takes a lot of time to really be able to stand up to the story of what's so epic and important about that. And the nuts and bolts of the industry definitely is.
I had, a lot of people I'm meeting here and there, like Dick Michaels, whom to introduce me to him. So it's a kind of a lot of, I was taken to a few red carpet events. Some other people have started contacting me from South Africa and saying that they've got a project for me. And I was in LA, and so I said, okay, what's the project all about? So first I kind of felt it was like a James Bond kind of like script or synopsis, which I was provided. And later on, I said, okay, we have got another project which might be best for which you might fit perfect. So when I was presented this Rhino project, it was a kind of very kind of like pro of rhino poaching, pro of rhino horn trade. It's a kind of like a lobbying kind of project. So it was a very tough one to deal with the production company itself. I think, as you already know, in South Africa, it's legal to buy and sell rhino horns.
So you were brought this project, and then you became one of the producers, and you ended up writing it. Were you passionate about the rhinos and the animals and all that growing up in Africa?
Yeah.
Was it something that you had on your radar screen and in your heart?
Yeah, and I do have environmental background. When I was 12, 14 years old, I was sending I sent a proposal even like to University of Florida, which I was very young. I was around 12, 13. So I had that environmental awareness since my childhood. So when these things came to my attention, I said, I need to do really, really what's happening in the ground. So to say that what's happening in the ground is not an easy task. There are a lot of things going around on these rhino issues. So it's a kind of like I took a fire to say that I'm going to do, because the challenge and the sacrifices and the cost involved and the sabotage to the film and to the entire shooting process, even after the shooting process in post-productions, I have to fire the director and I have to step up myself. And it is a quite painful experience which I went through of making this film. It feels like, when you sit and watch, it feels like it's an easy journey, but making this film, it is still a struggle by itself to put it to the market, because there are a lot of political maneuvering around behind the scenes. So it's quite challenging.
Well, you have David on your team, and he is a go-getter guy. And I know I'm going to a screening next week to know that it's potentially going to be down to the short list of the Golden Globes and the Oscars. So congratulations to you both. That's really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know what? This story is so compelling, though, because as a kid, I grew up on a farm where, you know, we really valued every animal, and you just had a very organic. I had an organic childhood because of that. And when I look at these, I met some people in the music and film industry who said to me, well, why do you really care about these big animals clear across the world in Africa? Because they don't provide anything for our lives at all. And I thought about it, and my response was, well, why do we care about art? Why do we care about mountains? Why do we care about anything of beauty that's in our environment? Because, you know, it really comes down to that we have an ecosystem that has so many beautiful things in it, and we need to keep these things around. We can't let these animals go extinct, and we can't be letting people do these terrible atrocities. And I love the way that this movie takes that on head on, and this character Gabriel, who is so driven to fight what's wrong. And to me, the theme song tried to tell that story, you know, to just be about, look, you got to fight for what's right sometimes.
Yes, we need to fight for what's right. And one of the charity spotlights I like to point out is the Now or Never African Wildlife Trust. So I want to talk to you more about that when we come back from our break, because David was talking about how to honor our animals, and I'm really excited to talk to Christopher Law about the 30 years he's been taking people into safaris so that they know up close and personal how important these animals are to our ecosystems, to God's creatures, and to the overall plan of the universe. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Christopher Law. So we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Fran Drescher, and I'm on Gwen Talk Radio. And I hope you go to cancerschmanza.org and learn how you can reduce your risk of cancer and a lot of other illnesses for you and your family. Go now and save your lives.
So we're back with Gwen Talks Radio. This is your host, Tess Cacciatore, and we have our guest host, David Longoria. We are talking to Tariku Bogali out of South Africa. I love this show because we can bring on people from all over the world. I love that technology is allowing us to be able to listen to other accents and learn about each other's cultures. And I'm really excited to bring on Christopher. He's been a friend of mine for about 8-9 years, I think, by now. And at least, maybe longer. So Christopher, hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here with all these guys.
Well, you said on the break.
Christopher.
Good day.
So, Christopher, over the break, you were expressing your excitement about the film. So I want the listeners, I cut you off because I wanted the listeners to share in that excitement with you. So tell me what you were going to say during the break.
Listening to the show so far, I have this overwhelming need to see this movie. It is something that's really important. Not only that, but I will certainly promote it as much as I can in my social media. Is it a feature film?
It
Yes.
is. It is. It's quite a feature film.
And
So, Christopher, we're doing a screening
really
next Monday. So come down to LA and you can come to the screening.
I won't be able to come down to LA because I live in Cambria now, and it's hard to leave.
Oh, I'm sure it's beautiful
kidding.
up there.
What a beautiful area.
Yeah. Well, we escaped LA, and that was something we've been looking to do for a couple of years now. So the hardest part is getting to LAX to to head for Africa, because it's a little harder this time.
Well, talk about your work and all the things that you do on your safaris. I'm not sure if David, if you know Christopher's work, but he takes people on safaris a couple of times a year, I think, and we need to go next time.
January and June are the times. For example, January 18th will be a 10-day round trip from LA, and it'll be June 28th, the same 10 days round trip from LA. It's a smaller program because after 30 years and I've been all over Africa. I've been almost everywhere, it seems. And I used to do the 18-day, 2 countries, Tanzania, Kenya, which I love to do, but it's expensive. And a lot of people couldn't do it. So what happened was I went on a volunteer. I had a volunteer with Sprite Luriano from Manifest Foundation. And what we did is we took people into the slums, and they worked mostly on water projects, but they built chicken coops and a few other things. And then we went on safari. It was a short one, and it was still wonderful because once you go to the Masai Mara, which in my opinion is the finest game park in Africa, my grandson-in-law is a silver level guide, one of the smartest people on Africa I've ever met. And he was running a camp called Sentinel. Sentinel is an eco camp. It's on the Mara River. It's a 5-star tented camp, basically, and next to the Musiara Marsh. And when you have the marsh, you have the animals. And when we landed in June, there were 1,000 animals on both sides of the aircraft and the dirt strip. It was remarkable. And I saw the migration for the second time in 30 years, which is also remarkable. And we're overlooking the river, and you have these beautiful birds flying up and down the river, and you have the hippos, singing to you, and you have crocodiles down there. And then when you go out in the morning and the afternoon, you have a plethora of animals, almost everything, but you have lion and elephant every day. And when I take people to Africa, what I feel is that I am seeing Africa for the first time again through their eyes.
Oh,
and that's my motivation. When I say to people all the time, even on my website, if you only have 2 places you can go in the world, you should go to Africa twice. When you have the experience of looking in the eye of an elephant up close and personal, it's impossible to think of killing it. That just makes me nuts.
It makes me nuts too.
One of the things we've incorporated into our program, which has really become a big deal. I'm a big supporter of the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in Kenya.
Yes, that's our second charity spotlight. So say that name again. I wanted you to bring this up, so I'm so excited. That's our second charity spotlight.
The David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. Daphne Sheldrick is the widow of David Sheldrick, who was the big game warden in Tsavo. And what happened is that she began to collect the babies that were left after a poaching. It's so remarkable because there are so many, for one thing, but what they do is they raise them. They have caretakers that sleep with them and raise them. And they're raised together, and they become bonded together. And then when they grow up, they go down to Tsavo, and they're released back into the wild. And one of the reasons that it's working is because the elephants released into the wild that have babies bring them back to introduce them to the people where they were released. And that's truly amazing. And you always hear about elephants never forgetting. Well, they don't forget. Because when they see Daphne, they come up to her and, give her all kinds of love. So when we go to safari now, when we arrive on a Saturday, and then on a Sunday, we go to the David Sheldrick place, the compound, and we have private meeting with all the babies. They come out and play with us. And let me tell you how exciting that is, because if you go to my website, you'll see a little shot of me having the elephant with its trunk up on my shoulder.
Oh my God!
How can you not get excited about that? It's just beautiful. They're so smart.
They're so smart. I've been able to ride elephants, and one of them in Thailand painted a picture for me, and just to be on safari and see them in the wild, and to know that David Sheldrick and his wife has taken on this, and that you take people there to really shine a spotlight on them. That's wonderful.
Yes, because once they see it, once they have the experience, once they realize that this is a being that is it's a matriarchal society, for one thing. I recently showed you, Tess, on my Facebook page, that birthing.
No, my God.
That birthing took place 2 years. They're pregnant for 2 years. I mean, it's not 9 months.
Wow.
And so what happened when I told you to turn the sound up is you heard the scream when the baby was birthed. And then you had all the aunts and uncles come running in as protective and helping, and they all stay together and raise them, and it's amazing. The bull elephants go off, pretty much by themselves, and they come back to mate. But it's when we used to go to Ngorongoro Crater in Tanzania, and it has 30,000 animals in the crater. It's like the Garden of Eden, but it's only male elephants. And I asked Dr. Joyce Poole, who is, the Jane Goodall of elephants, I suppose. She said the mothers won't take the babies down there. It's too steep to go down into the crater. So I thought that was a fascinating side point. But going back to the rhinos, I have to say that when you have poaching, what you have is an economic crisis. It's all about money. It's always about money. And the money that the poacher gets is minuscule, but they're poor and they're out there trying to survive somehow. And how can you blame them for that? But of course, it's a crime, and the money goes up the chain. Of course, I think the story is pretty well known that Jomo Kenyatta's wife was the head of the poaching ring at the time, way back. And when it comes to rhino horn, it's keratin. It's the same as your fingernails. It doesn't do anything to make you potent, so to speak. And we have Viagra. We have other things. And so it's really ridiculous. The other side of that is the money that is paid. I think it's like $20,000 a kilo or something. The rhino horn is used as the dagger handle for young Arab princes, which is also ridiculous. But, when it comes to economics, the world gets crazy, and it's getting crazier. I love the idea of the song, We Are One, because if we don't get that, and the other thing I want to throw in there is all of the Me Too, the women coming forward is a really strong, wonderful thing, because until we figure out that men and women are linked as one, it's yin and yang. And when we get that, then we have, a future. I've been very fortunate to be raised by women, and I have, all the girls in my family. So
I love that. Well, I have to pop in here, and I know David is busting at the seams to say something. I can feel it. But Global Women's Empowerment Network, one of my main taglines is "We do Gwen with the men," because I so concur with you. And when I was getting ready for the show today, I thought it was so fun because all three of the guests are males today, which is the first time. Because we have the most amazing men that are in the planet that are really passionate about letting the woman rise and going into this situation together and educating people so we can get passionate about causes and films and things like that. David, I know you're ready to say something, and I wanted to jump in and say that.
Well, for me, I'm just I'm always in awe of the great things that are all around the world. And Christopher, I want to live through your eyes sometimes. I looked at the website and I saw a bunch of things on there, and I saw some of the things about your safaris, and I have not been blessed enough to go to on a safari yet, but it's on my list. I don't have a bucket list, but it's on that list that I want to get to pretty soon.
We'll have to go in June.
Yeah. You know what? I have a lot of desire to go over there. I teach kids music a lot, and I try to make a little bit of time every year to go out and do some of those things. and there's so much need in some of the people in all across Africa. We're bringing some things to Ghana and to West Africa this year, and it's one of the things I'd love to do is get with you, Christopher, and find out more about some of this, because those beautiful animals need more people like us that care about it and care about the cause. And maybe this movie can touch a lot of people and inspire them as well. So I'm really proud to be part of this thing with the movie Bloodline, Now or Never, just because if we can draw more awareness to that at the same time as, we're gathering people and saying we're all together on this, let's get more people to be interested in preserving some of this beautiful wildlife on our planet.
And not to kill the animals over gross, silly things. It's so atrocious. So thank you for creating this film, Chiriku, and Christopher, for taking people out into the safaris and being able to show people how lovely these beautiful beings are. And for David being so talented doing your beautiful songs of We Are One, and for the theme song Now or Never. I can't wait for our listeners to be able to hear that song. It's coming up right after we take a break. We're going to do the Now or Never song. We're going to do the Mind Over Matter Minute. We have our 2 charity spotlights that will be on our website that you can look into and donate and create a space. So I just want to go around really quickly and find out if there's any last minute thoughts you want to share or where to find you in social media. So David, why don't we start with you?
Okay, I gotta say something prolific now. Oh no, that's a lot of pressure.
A lot of responsibility. Go right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, the funny thing about that is that I feel a great responsibility to do great things with the gifts that I was given. I'm blessed to be able to do music. So anytime that I can use it to try and bring people together and celebrate the beauty of our planet and to serve God in ways of touching people's lives, that's really what I'm on the planet for. And I'm so happy to know Chiriku and to know Christopher now, and of course Tess and the whole platform of Gwen. We have all kinds of wonderful things we can do this year, and just to remind ourselves of the beauty on our planet and the beauty in all the people that we can serve.
Wonderful. And they can find you at David Longoria. Is it 007 or just 7?
No, just find me at davidlongoria.com.
There you go. Well, on social media, I know you have the 7, and I thought it was kind of interesting because the song that you created for the theme song was so James Bondish, and the David Longoria 007 just kind of fit.
There's some of that in there for sure.
Exactly. So davidlongoria.com. Chiriku, why don't you tell people where we can find you and watch the trailer so we can watch it come to a city near us?
Yeah, they can visit to my website, which is tarikubogal.com.
tarikubogali.com. And then where do you see the trailer? Yeah. You see it at that site, right?
They'll find it on the website.
Beautiful.
And can we put that on the website, Tess? Can we put it on the website?
Yeah. All the posts on the site will have the charity spotlights with links and the links to all the guests and, connecting the dots along the way. So, Christopher, that's here where you...
I got 2 things I wanted to say. The title of David's song is wonderful. One of my oldest friends is David Pomerantz. Do you know David?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
It's in Every One of Us is his song that that reminded me of your title. And the other thing I wanted to say is about trophy hunting. It just seems so ridiculous to hunt the biggest, strongest, and take that out of the procreation herd. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It breaks my heart.
And the argument that they feed people with meat is bullshit. Can I say bullshit?
You just did, and I'm fine with that if that's what we could do.
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's Safari Club International. I once went to. We were selling art, Dennis Curry's art at the convention, and I went and saw the presentation. And they had this guy get up on stage, which this is the epitome of it all. 6'4", 5", probably 250 pounds, wide-shouldered, narrow hips, fully bearded Vans man, and he had the trophy for the largest dik-dik horn. You know what a dik-dik is? It's the smallest deer on the planet. It's like, a foot tall. And I thought to myself, boy, if that doesn't say it, Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what's in the hearts of these people that feel that they need to be superior and kill for no reason, to poach them for their horns and for their tusks, and to take their lives when they're in the most vulnerable places in their homes, in the Serengetis and the safaris of the world. So I think that's why the name of the episode came to me in my meditation, From the Wild to the Heart, is how can we take and reach to each corner of the world from the wild and take it into our heart and have compassion and courage to be able to speak out and have our voices heard, so that we can encourage these people that are doing such wrongdoings to see how they can shine the light and see the light and do different. So we're going to
doing it.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with all of you, because you are all epitome of amazing men to me. And I'm really excited for our listeners to be able to hear Now or Never. You are going to love this song, and it's going to encourage you to go out and watch the movie. And then you're going to go on a safari with Christopher, and all kinds of things are wonderful in the world. And then we'll have a Mind Over Matter minute break, because it's always important to take at least a minute of the day, but maybe a minute, an hour, just to reflect and to meditate and to pray and to be in service and to relax and to breathe. So with that, we'll be right back.
Don't try to change my mind. It's hard to leave the past behind. No reason to look back now. I'm ready for my destined hollow. I need to find redemption. I'm not here to seek attention. So get ready to fight for what you know is right. You've shown me here with every clue. You gave me confidence. I'm not afraid, no time to waste. I need to find redemption. I am not searching for perfection. Now I'm ready to fight for what I know is right.
And now, a Mind Over Matter Minute.
You have been listening to Gwen Talks Radio, and this is your host, Tess Cacciatore. I want to thank my guest once again, the wonderful, amazing guest host, David Longoria, and him sharing his project with Chiruku Mogali from South Africa in the film Bloodline, Now or Never. I hope you enjoyed hearing the song Now or Never. This is the first release out, so find a theater near you and watch the film Bloodline, Now or Never. Also, please get involved in your communities around animal rights and animal protection. And you can also change laws in the ban of poaching and other horrific things that are happening to our wildlife around the world. If you want to find us, please come and tell us what else you'd like to talk about for Gwen Talks Radio. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Christopher Law and his wonderful work on the safari. I'm not sure about you, but I'd love to go on a safari with him. So we are going to be signing off. And once again, as you know, the world is much better with you in it. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening. Visit us at gwen.live and join our Gwen community. Share what's on your mind.